Hi, I'm Loretta and this is my sister, Sharon. We are founders of the plant-based retreat, The Detox Barn, and we're also a comedy double act. I know, funny vegans. Shoot me now.
9 years ago, I was diagnosed with a chronic autoimmune disease and got myself better using a plant-based diet. Since then, I've just fallen in love with living well.
I retrained as a natural vegan chef, and each week we'll be interviewing experts in the wellness industry, as well as sharing the highs and lows of trying to live well as single mums living together with our 2 kids.
How well have we lived this week? Well, it's been a bloody long January and I'm really glad it's over. Just the weather.
Just want the sun to come out. It's long, it's dark, it's bleak, it's cold, and it's really hard to keep your mojo, isn't it?
It's really hard. Anyway, I think it's just the lightness, and this goes back to we are completely connected to the light, and it affects our mood, as does everything that you do every day.
But when I was younger, I never noticed the winter. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, winter's coming.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, and I think it doesn't help because we're having to sort of. When your parents get a bit older, having to deal with a lot of that, and
tomorrow I'm going round to declutter.
And if one of you,
not both of you,
not both of you, I don't want both of you, one of you, not both of you, I can't handle it.
And she starts giving me anxiety because I go over and she says, I need to talk to you. It's very important.
Not now, not when you have time.
Only when you have time. I'm not going to have you there scrolling on your phone and running this way and that way. When you've got time, I'll sit down and talk to you. So I've got time now, Mum. What is it? It's very important. I've had a message from Facebook.
Oh, there's notifications.
Hundreds of notifications.
People keep sending me photos. I'm like, they're not sending you photos. They're putting photos on Facebook, which is a public.
Why do they keep sending them to me?
I don't want to know these photos.
I constantly get these phone calls. I know everyone has to deal with their parents, but these phone calls like, Loretta, I'm awful worried about your father. He's been chopping.
Won't stop chopping. He won't stop chopping.
He's in the garden, chopping wood. And I'm like, well,
the longevity studies show us that actually chopping, weeding, crouching, she is going to kill me if I say that.
Yeah, but we do say that.
Yeah, but good for
Have
longevity.
Have you looked at the blue zones? Check out the blue zones, Mummy. Affect the fucking blue zones. I'll give you a blue zone in a minute. Have you seen his finger?
Have you seen his fucking finger?
Have you seen his fucking finger from chopping? Do
you think it's like he chops so much?
And I was like, well, what do you mean he's chopping?
What is he chopping?
There's a table that we're not using anymore.
Don't stop chopping.
I said, what's wrong with his finger? He's chopped his finger.
And I'm awful worried about it.
It's completely gashed and he won't go to the hospital. And now I do have to back her up on this point because my father, how he hasn't died of sepsis, I will never know.
He's really tough.
Really, really tough. So anyway, I was like, Mum, it'll be fine. I meet him for lunch for his birthday and I look at his finger and it's like literally purple, it's bulging out of the plaster, purple. It looks like he needs tetanus, antibiotics, flu jab and everything else to stop the infection. And I actually got really angry and I was like, Dad, you need to go to the walk-in clinic and you need to get that finger seen to because you are going to die of sepsis. So yeah, that's been our month, hasn't it, Sharon? Cold, bleary, I've had backache, which has got better, and now I've got a shin problem. You can't even sit in cafes and enjoy coffee because
it's £4.50. Who can afford that every day? No one.
But
we have got an amazing guest this week.
We have, yes. This week we are talking to Dr. Chiddy all about using nutrition and health and wellness to reverse disease. It's a great episode.
And we were filming this in the summer, so we were in a better mood.
Yes. Look, I'm in the kitchen, I've still got my coat on.
Freezing. We just want to turn the heating on.
This episode is sponsored by us, Gavin sisters, and our very first product, Funky Coffee. It's triple certified.
We got paid a fortune to sponsor this.
Yeah, we're paying ourselves.
Yeah.
It's triple certified organic Arabica coffee and it's boosted with potent adaptogens. The health benefits are many, but don't just take our word for it.
Yeah, instead of us banging on about it, we decided to test our coffee out with our guests at the Detox Barn and take a listen to what they have to say.
They're not getting paid.
No one's getting paid here. Let's be honest.
So we've just served funky coffee at the Detox Barn. What did everybody think?
Coffee. Delicious. Amazing. And it's not bitter and it tastes like real coffee. I was very sceptical, but absolutely, it was stunning.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. And did you find, because you had it yesterday, did you find you had a crash afterwards, or did you feel like you had sustained energy?
Sustained, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
They want to buy shares in the company. Okay, thanks everybody. For our listeners, you can get 10% off. Go to gavinsisters.co.uk and use the code podcast at checkout. So, welcome to the podcast, Dr. Chiddy. We're delighted to have you on because you are a leading expert on lifestyle medicine and you are an international speaker talking about plant-based living and reversing disease. So thank you so much for coming today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with both of you. It's nice to see you in person. I've seen your videos. I had a good old laugh. Thank you so much.
Rude.
Thank you so much.
Well, I send my videos out to try and entice people to come and talk to me. So
it works.
Thank you very much.
But then they expect us to be really funny.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We're going to be really serious now. It's actually amazing having you here today because it's almost like my confirmation bias has kind of like created you, because everything that you've said, and we've just been chatting before we started recording, is just so in line with the journey that I've been on and trying to become symptom free from my autoimmune disease, which I did achieve. And when I was really struggling, I was so looking for someone like you. It's like as if you are the answer to what I really needed back then. And I'm really grateful that you now exist, because I know that there's going to be people listening to this podcast, people out there struggling, looking for someone who is medical, knows their stuff, but also can give hope, can go, we can reverse this. Even if it was just the placebo of that message from a doctor, what it could actually do to your body. So thank you for existing. That sounds a very heavy intro. But so tell me, what I really want to know, just to start off with, is how you became this lifestyle plant-based doctor. How did that happen from your path of medical training?
Right, I'm going to have to take you back a bit before medicine.
Yeah.
And I would say when I was 10 years old, around about 10 years old, I came from a Christian family, Seventh-day Adventists, I don't know if you've heard of them. But there was this gentleman, Dr. Kellogg, who everybody has heard of, Kellogg's Cornflakes, that guy. He was one of the founders, and I used to read some of his books as a young boy. And I thought, wow, this guy's doing some interesting stuff, because he was healing people all over the world. All the famous people of the world were coming to him to be cured of their disease. And from then I said, well, I would like to do something like him. I went on this path and thankfully got into medical school. Whilst I was in medical school, my head was turned and I became more interested in surgery. So I came out, started training as a surgeon, but at the same time I had a couple of restaurants that I started, plant-based restaurants called Plant. And I realised at the time, because I was getting all these letters from some of the patrons, and they were saying, you know, I'm taking less medication now that I'm coming to you 2 or 3 times a week. Fantastic. When I was in surgery, we were doing bypasses and hip replacements and all of that. And I thought, I think there is something in the food, there is something in the lifestyle that can probably prevent people getting to need a surgeon. And at the same time, I was realising that, well, some of these diseases can be reversed. I looked into the research in the States. I did some work with Dean Ornish, Esselstyn, Caldwell. They were reversing heart disease. So I picked all of that up and I thought, well, can we do it with diabetes? Oh, you actually can. Can we do it with autoimmune disease? And so the repertoire kind of opened up. And I said, well, really, I don't really want to do the conventional medicine. This is all I want to do from now on. Cure people from disease. And even some of the more complicated ones, like the autoimmune ones, you realise that the answer is usually quite simple. So that's how I kind of got to be where I am today.
And what would your answer be for the auto? Only because I've got particular. What would I had dermatomyositis. I am symptom free now. I do struggle a little bit with the skin sometimes. It rears its head on occasion, but I'm very much back to living. I'm better now than I was before I was sick. Let's just put it that way.
She's running 10 miles.
Yeah.
She's just entered a half marathon.
So I'm thriving. I totally am. And I know that that's because of what I did to get there. If someone came to you with dermatomyositis or lupus or something like that, what would your protocol be?
Right, good one. So I think the key to reversing disease is finding out what is the root cause. Once you get to the root cause, you reverse it. And
My ex-husband.
Well, that is part of it. I mean,
yeah,
stress,
it is.
stress is a
Actually,
big
I know
deal.
it's a joke, but it was.
Especially for autoimmune
Yeah.
disease. But people need to understand that all autoimmune disease, about 400 of them, but all of them, they come from a similar root.
Yeah.
And that root is that at some point in your life, usually when we're children, some of our gut cells, they come apart, this leaky gut syndrome, you've heard of that. So that means that larger proteins get into your bloodstream than are normal. So these larger proteins that should have been digested but are not, are then identified by your immune system, and they're identified as foreign.
Right.
And if you know how antibodies work, they attach themselves to a protein code, a specific protein code. It's actually quite fascinating because you've got antibodies for just about every protein on the planet. You never come across them, but you've got antibodies for them. So they attach themselves to a protein code, they start to attack it, and then what they do, they go around the body looking for a similar protein code to attack. Now, if it happens to be a similar protein code in your joints, they start to attack your joints, you become arthritic, thyroid, nerves, same thing. So that would be the root cause. So things like dermatomyositis and lupus, which affects lots of different areas. So you've got lots of different antibodies attacking you. So what do you do about it? The first thing I would do is remove the things that are stimulating these antibodies. And the biggest culprits are milk protein,
Yeah.
refined sugar, meat, of course. So those are the big ones. Sometimes it's wheat as well, especially in the thyroid. So first of all, remove those,
Yeah.
and then and then give yourself things that will start to heal and produce the good antibodies. Sometimes, I don't know, in your protocol, they may have given you steroids or something like
Yeah,
that.
I was on steroids and I was on isothiopren and Cellcept. I was on
Yeah.
2 autoimmune drugs and steroids.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So what steroids would do, they would wipe out all of your antibodies,
Right.
the good and the bad,
Yeah.
which is not good.
No.
Because you need those antibodies
Yeah.
to attack cancer and all those sorts of things. But what they don't tell you is that there is something that does something that no drugs can do, vitamin D.
Yeah.
Vitamin D, being exposed to the sun, but in a supplement, vitamin D will suppress the negative antibodies, the ones attacking you, whilst lifting up the ones that do you good. There's no drug that has ever been made that can do that.
It's such a simple thing.
Of course. Yeah.
Why haven't we told this?
And
Yeah.
that's why when you look at the world, you look at the world around the equator, very few people have autoimmune diseases that live near the equator. Very few.
Because of the sun.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because of the sun. I was up in Norway a few years ago. Loads of autoimmune diseases for young people. You say, well, why do
really?
they have? Well, they don't have the sun for half of the year. And when you tell them to take high dose vitamin D, some of them sort of reject it.
So when you say high dose, what is high dose? Because then I've heard you can
OD on it.
OD on vitamin D.
Well, where did you hear that from?
I don't know.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, ChatGPT. I was taking 10,000 IU. I'm taking 5,000 now.
Right.
Is that too much, 10,000?
So I've been taking 10,000 for 20 years.
Really?
I don't have any autoimmune disease.
No.
Never had an autoimmune
Yeah.
disease. If I'm treating somebody with an autoimmune disease, I tell them to take 20,000.
Oh, do you?
Whilst the disease is active.
Yeah.
And then when it goes away, come back down to 10,000.
Okay.
Living in this climate, it doesn't even when you're in the summertime,
Yeah.
you still need high dose vitamin D. So 10,000, 5,000 to 10,000 is a good thing for everybody to be on. On top of that, you take the normal antioxidants and anti-inflammatory things like turmeric and black pepper, all those sorts of things that will
Yeah.
reduce the inflammation. But once you've taken away much of the stressors and you're starting to take the things that will start to heal you, then you're on your way. Now, with autoimmune disease, you must deal with the stress.
Yeah.
You must deal with the
Yeah.
stress. Now, we can't avoid stress.
Yeah.
So you're not telling people to come out and become a monk or a nun or something like that. But what we do say is, well, look, let's try and think of a different way to deal with the stress.
Yeah. No, I was just about to say, because I mean, without sharing too much, because obviously he's the father of my child, but I was in a very, very unhappy marriage and I was totally in fight or flight.
Yes.
Like constantly, my adrenal system, would get over something and then it would start again, and then the stress, and I'd have this, like, just this never ending anxiety in the pit of my stomach of like, what's going to happen, and if something did kick off, I didn't know how to stop it, and then I'd be stressed, and then it just was never ending. And like the only time I got an autoimmune disease was when I was in a very unhappy marriage. So I knew that was a big stressor, and so lucky I could get away from that.
Yes.
Not everyone can.
But
I think it was probably a big piece of the puzzle of just getting myself out of that environment. I've lived with my sister ever since, which is an amazing home.
And I'm lovely.
Absolutely, I can tell. I can tell.
It's been incredible that we brought up our children together, and it's been such a happy, loving home. And I got myself out of that situation. But I do think that stress, it was omnipresent. It was just like, it was all encompassing. I totally agree. That was my first step too, was to try and eradicate that as much as possible. But, as you said, we live in quite a stressful life. So, so what can we do?
Yeah, and if I was to boil it all down, I'd say there are two things that we need to get to: a place of forgiveness.
Yeah, that's taken a while.
That's not easy.
It's taken a while. Yeah,
and love. Now, when I say forgiveness, I'm talking about not just forgiveness of other people, but of ourselves.
Yeah,
because we have to go around with ourselves all the time, and there are things on my mind. Why did I do that? We have to learn to let these things go. And forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what they've done is okay, but forgiveness is just removing yourself from the toxicity of everything. And say, I'm not going to take that on board anymore. I'm going to let that go for my own health. For my own health. And then the other branch is loving oneself, loving what one does, loving one's purpose, getting involved in all of that. That sounds a bit out there, but that really is the key to relieving your stress.
And I also, when I was first, and I feel quite emotional you saying it, but when I was in the grips of my disease, and at points, I couldn't really walk, I couldn't get out of a chair, I lost most of my hair, my skin was covered head to toe. My consultant said it's the worst skin he's actually ever come across. They were taking, it was like photographs for study books. That's how bad it was.
Manuals.
But I remember I did find this, and she's, you really resonate. What you've just said then was what she was telling me back then, and back then I was in the grip of it, the grip of being in a very toxic marriage. And I would go and see her, and she used to live in Whitstable. She was quite far out. She was a doctor as well. She was quite far out there, I suppose. It's become more normal now, these messages, but back then, if I was to share some of the stuff she said, people would think she's a bit mad. But she was a medically trained doctor, but she was now a homeopath, herbalist type thing. But her biggest message to me, because I used to go into those sessions and I'd just be in bits going, I've got this newborn baby, because I was pregnant when I got the disease, and I've got this newborn baby, and I'm in this awful marriage, and I can't cope, I can't breathe. And I always remember, and I would tell her some of the stories of what was going on. I always used to remember, again, she was actually Catholic, and I just always remember saying, you've got to forgive him. You've got to cultivate love, as much love as you can in your body, so that you can heal. Because, being angry or stressed or hating, you can't heal like that.
Wonderful doctor.
And I always remember I used to come back to you, and I used to go, I've got to try and I would do these kind of little...
And I don't know what she was doing, because she must have been in her 80s, and she didn't have glasses.
No,
she could.
She said, "Don't buy into aging." She had all these messages for me.
Yeah, so she'd be really tiny writing,
Absolutely.
and I'd be like, "Oh my god!"
Very similar. And she was the first person that told me. It's taken me a while to get there, but I think I'm there now. But also, as well, as you said, that kind of just forgiving yourself for mistakes that I made. I think it really helps the body.
Well, that's
heal.
Right. Those sorts of background stresses that we have about ourselves, your body is responding to it. So your adrenal glands are going to be pumping out the adrenaline, they're going to be pumping out the cortisol, just because in the back of your mind there is this thing that you haven't resolved. So the closer we get to that resolution, the better. The good news is this: even if you haven't fully come to the place of forgiveness, just by thinking about it and putting your first foot forward and trying, we know that your blood pressure and all those parameters come down. So you're not quite there yet, but your body starts to respond to the fact that, hey, you know what, I want to learn to forgive. So you don't have to be perfect and pious and everything. Just being on your way helps your body.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing, absolutely.
So I wanted to touch on plant-based living and all the contradictory messages that we have around food and lifestyle and nutrition, and even Sharon and I, we sometimes get really confused. There are so many mixed messages out there, you know, keto diet, carnivore diet, and some of these people are really, really thriving. So tell me why you think that a plant-based lifestyle is more superior to all these other diets out there.
Yeah, it is by far the most superior diet. I mean, I guess what I should start with, let's just put it in there. There is an area, you've heard of these blue zones in the world, have you? Yeah, wonderful. So there is a place where I go to very often. I teach there actually, Loma Linda in California. Now that environment is a plant-based environment. Okay, it's a religious group, Adventist again, but when I spend my time there, you're seeing 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds living their fantastic life. In fact, I always tell people I was driven around by a woman who was 104.
Wow.
Yeah, she was 104. And then we went out for a walk, and she's ahead of me.
Yeah.
So, and this is because they have a healthy plant-based diet. It's very difficult to argue with that. But on top of that, when we hear of things like antioxidants, phytonutrients and all of that, well, does that really exist in the meat and the dairy? It doesn't exist at all. It's in all of the fruits and the vegetables and the beans and the seeds that we eat. And some people like to say, well, you know, a big steak has all the amino acids that you need. But I don't know if we were designed just to eat a big stale piece of meat. We're supposed to have lots of variety in our food. So you get some of the nutrients from these beans, some of the nutrients from those fruit. That seems to be what generates that healthy microbiome in our gut. So, and I also say this, so I spend my life reversing disease. And I was actually with a conference of these, I'll call them carnivorous doctors, and they know what they're talking about. They've seen the research. They would say, well, if I put my patients on this healthy meat-heavy diet, well, you know, they get better. Well, that's fine. If you remove refined food and processed food, pretty much everyone gets better, whether it's meat or not, that's fine. But what I do say to them, look, if you're trying to treat somebody with diabetes and you're doing it with whatever lifestyle, that regime must be good for every other part of the body. There's no point treating someone for diabetes and they become overweight, or their cholesterol goes high, or they get kidney stones, or if that's happening, it's not a holistic diet. The only holistic diet that I've ever seen is one that is a healthy plant-based diet.
It's interesting because there's a guy, you probably know him, he's on Instagram, and he reversed his diabetes, and he's very much into no carbs, no sugar, only meat. And I actually find his stuff a little bit dangerous because he's really, really popular, and I see him like on the aisle of Waitrose, and he swears a lot, and he's like fucking fruit, don't eat fruit, you know, this kind of, fruit's bad for you. Yeah. And I'm like, how many people are listening to that? Yeah. That actually fruit isn't bad for you. It's full of fibre, nutrients, but people are listening to these people. Yeah. And probably making decisions that really don't serve them.
Very poor decisions, and they end up with, because it may help a certain condition. You might lose weight.
Yeah.
But guaranteed you're building up problems for the future. And that is what I try to tell people. Look, you can't just be looking at one aspect of your life. You have to be looking at the holistic aspects of all of your life. But yes, I've had lots of debates with some of these guys, and they're not going to change their ways. But no. But look, I mean, there have been some famous people like Jordan Peterson. He kind of promotes it.
Yeah, he does, yeah. And his daughter, because his daughter cured her autoimmune by going carnivore.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean...
No, it doesn't mean that you...
It's good
for
you.
And right now, he's in a bad way. But I don't know what's going on, but he's in a bad way. But it just means that you have to be careful to have a holistic approach. That's all. Now, I think sometimes this plant-based living... people don't accept it because it seems a bit too simple.
Yeah.
Now for me, I take it the opposite way. From what I've seen, I did a couple of degrees in physiology and pharmacology before I did medicine. But I now realise that the more simple the answer, it's probably the more sustainable and correct answer. The more I see people trying to make things more complicated, I say, yeah, that doesn't kind of make sense.
So would you say that's things like kind of time restricted eating, fasting, all that? What do you think of all that sort of stuff?
Well, I think any type of fasting is good for
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it is actually a benefit, and you must decide what type of fasting works for you. For example, for me, I tend to eat one meal a day, sometimes two. That's a type of fasting. Some
Yeah.
people like to just take a day off
Yeah.
in a month or a week. That's fine. But there's lots of people who disagree on health, but the one thing that everybody should agree on, that fasting will help you in some way. But you have to make it right for you.
It's interesting because I actually, and there's sort of two questions in this, but even though I am plant-based and live the way I do, I actually have borderline high blood pressure.
Right.
So it's obviously there's a genetic component, but I have to kind of keep an eye on it. So it really pisses me off because I'm pretty
You're meant to
healthy.
be a health guru.
Yeah.
That's what's raising your blood pressure.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I do get a little bit stressed before I take it as well, so that could be part of it, but I've consistently been taking now. But have you followed any of Volta Longo's work with the fasting? So have you heard of Prolon fasting?
No.
So Volta Longo, have a look after the podcast, because I think you'd be quite interested. He's done lots of like fasting with chemo patients, or fasting them before chemo.
Oh yes.
Have
No,
you
I
had?
have,
Maybe
yes,
I'm
yeah.
saying his
That's
name
right,
wrong.
that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah. So he's developed something called the Prolon protocol, which is like a 5-day fast, which mimics a water fast basically.
Yep.
So the 72-hour water fast, which is supposed to reset the immune system in some of the findings. So when I was trying to heal, I tried to do some of the 72 hours, but I failed. I would have hypoglycemia really.
Yep.
I did have gestational diabetes as well when I was pregnant, probably due to the steroids. So I think my blood sugars are a bit sensitive anyway. But he's developed this thing called the Prolon, and I wanted to try it. Part of me was like, it's a bit processy. It's like nut bars and stuff like that, soups. But I still have a little bit of skin that I would like to heal. So I was like, I'll give it a go. But and I read his autoimmune protocol was to do this fast 5 days every 2 months.
Okay.
So I thought this year I'm just gonna do it anyway, because I know that fasting is good for you anyway. So I did it, and my skin's been pretty good anyway. But I then was like, I'm just gonna keep testing my blood pressure. And then I heard a cardiologist, I don't know if you've heard of this either, a cardiologist on a podcast talk about an Ayurvedic herb called Muktavati, which is really good for blood pressure, and he actually gives it to his patients.
Right.
So I looked up the Muktavati, and I was like, where do I get the Muktavati? So I thought, I'm going to take it and just see. So I started taking the Muktavati, and I started checking my blood pressure, and it was really good, like really good. I was like, oh my God, this is a miracle. Like, cardiologists need to know about this. And then I realised that sorry, this is a long story. It has got a point. I realised my hearts per minute was really low. Like, it was kind of pulse was like 50, and I was like, I mean, I'm not an athlete, I am quite fit, but 50 is quite low. Is it the Muktavati? What is it? So then I got a bit scared of the Muktavati, so I thought, I'm going to stop the Muktavati and just keep an eye. Anyways, I stopped the Muktavati, and I kept taking my blood pressure, and my blood pressure is really, really good. And I think it's probably from the fasting that I've been doing, rather than maybe the Muktavati helped a bit. But I really was like blown away at how good my blood pressure is now. And I've done 3 cycles of this fast this year.
Yes.
So
it definitely would work.
Would it? Yeah.
So having those rather regular periods every day, every week, every month, that will help you to lower your blood pressure, because also it will be taking away the things that get in the way of allowing your arteries to open up. Now, if you're doing that with a lot of greens and berries and all of that, it will storm your blood pressure and make it come down really, really low. It's funny, my wife, she's many things. She's wonderful, but she's also a fantastic chef that I can talk about. But she was taking, what was it, hibiscus tea?
Oh yeah,
hibiscus tea.
Yeah.
And then just realised that her blood pressure went down, maybe even a bit too low.
Oh really?
So there's lots of things naturally that you can take and do. But I always caution people, it's better to take the natural things than to take pharmaceuticals, absolutely. But that's not going to get rid of the root cause of the problem. It It is like an artificial thing that you're doing to your body. So if you take that away, if you're still highly stressed or blah, 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 the blood pressure will come straight back.
Yeah.
So when you say root cause, this is the thing that I always get confused about when I
Right.
read people's books and they say you need to find the root cause.
Yes.
How do you find the root cause?
Yeah, well, again, it's reasonably simple, again. And I put it into three categories. It's meals, movement, and mindset. You're not going to find anything outside of those three. So it's either the fact that you're not eating the right thing or eating the wrong things, you're not moving enough or moving in a different, or not moving in the right way, and especially your mindset. So that is generating all the stress and the hormones. So when we think of something like type 2 diabetes, I probably spend half of my time reversing type 2 diabetes. Well, that's pretty much 80% what you're eating. And you're eating too many refined carbohydrates, and then you're not moving enough. On top of that, you're getting stressed and all of that. That changes your cells so that they become insulin resistant. So then what you need to do, and I do it for most diabetics, I mean, we take them off the medication very quickly, and we put them on I call them a beans, greens and vegetable diet for 2 weeks. I mean, that alone reduces their blood sugar to almost normal in 2 weeks. By a month, they're totally cured.
So it's beans, greens...
And vegetable. I mean, greens are vegetable.
Yeah. So when you say beans, because beans have got carbohydrates in them.
No
but
problem
that's
with
okay.
Yeah. So there was a guy called Dr. Himsfield, almost exactly 100 years ago, trying to figure out what is the cause of type 2 diabetes. He went around the world, he looked at all the diets, and he said, well, in places like America and Europe, they have not so much carbohydrates, but lots of fat. Places like Japan have loads of carbohydrates, not so much fat. Their diabetic levels are in the floor. They hardly got it.
In Japan?
In Japan. But then you realise, well, what sort of carbohydrates are they eating? Yeah, it's the beans, it's the greens, it's the vegetables, it's the fruit. All of those things protect you.
Right.
What about the rice? Because I love rice.
Rice.
Is that all right?
Rice is great, but if you are a diabetic, you're not.
Yeah.
White rice is never a great thing
Yeah.
for you because that just releases carbohydrates straight into your system. But whole grain rice, red rice, black rice.
Would you have whole grain like pastas? Because as a plant-based, because we're obviously plant-based, and sometimes we end up, we have really good smoothies every day, but sometimes I end up kind of having the whole food pastas and rices with lots of veg and stuff.
Yes.
Would you say that's okay?
Yeah,
that amount of carbohydrate?
I'm not one of those people who avoids carbohydrates.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, okay.
But there just has to be the right carbohydrate.
Yeah.
So you've said that you help people, you reverse diabetes,
Yes.
which is absolutely amazing. And it's growing exponentially, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And when I started reversing this, must be 25 years ago. I was looking into it. But when I did it, my colleagues and pretty much the media were saying, oh, this guy's a quack, it can't be true. But the evidence was there. People were off their medication. Very quick, get them off the medication within the first week. Blood sugar comes down within the first 2 weeks, and they're pretty much cured after 4 weeks. And by pretty much cured, I mean, so they can now go and have a Dunkin' Donut and their blood sugar doesn't go sky high.
Oh, really?
You know, so
Because I was going to say, do they have to do that diet for life, that strict diet?
No. So I always say to them this, look, you can, if you want to have a little bit of a binge every now and again, you're not going to go back into diabetes, but if you do it consistently, you will go back.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing we do. So by week 4, they're pretty much cured, and then we introduce them back to a normal, reasonable diet for them, which is comfortable for them, but avoiding the refined stuff, and they're done.
And so do you get them to avoid sugar, that kind of thing?
In the beginning, absolutely.
Yeah.
But once they have been cured, they must be careful, but they can have sugar.
And you said that the press were calling you a quack. So,
yes.
Because it's quite inflammatory food, and it's quite inflammatory turning around to someone. And I know Sharon, when she says that she reversed her autoimmune, people get
Well, I tried to share it on some forums that were struggling with my sort of, and I just didn't get the response that I thought I was going to get.
What were you getting?
Well, it was getting like, this isn't curable, eating vegetables can't do this, you're spreading misinformation, that type of stuff. And I basically thought, well, I don't need this shit. I'll come off the forums.
More stress.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is a problem, you see. When people don't understand, they'll call it misinformation. I really dislike those words, misinformation, disinformation. It just means that you don't agree with it.
Yeah.
It's not a fact. And yes, well, how does science progress? Science progresses by people stepping out and doing new things. If we didn't try new things out, medicine and science would just be in the Stone Age. So this, I think, but also there are vested interests. There are lots of people who do not want this. I mean, who makes lots of money out of telling people to eat fruit, vegetables and drink water? There's not a lot of money to be made in it.
No.
So definitely keep people on the pharmaceuticals. And you find, I found when I first started doing these talks, maybe 20 years ago, lots of companies like ones that do fizzy drinks and milk, and they would always, first of all, they'd try and give you money to not talk.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah, they try to give you money to not talk, and then they try and undermine you.
Can I just ask, how would they try and give you money?
Oh, they go through, I used to have an agent, or they'd take you on a trip somewhere. Oh, can you talk about the benefits of Coca-Cola? Or, something silly like that. And then that is supposed to suppress your views on these things.
Oh, because you've been wined and dined.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is what happens to most doctors anyway, right? So
most
doctors, they get the pharmaceutical companies, take them to lunch and give them this and that, and you're more likely
I
to...
thought that was a bit of a myth. Is that actually true?
Oh, no, that happens. Not all doctors do it.
Yeah.
But the pharmaceutical companies do try it on all doctors. And so obviously I didn't fall in line there, and so they then started to label you as some kind of a quack or whatever. But the truth is, when you see people who have had diabetes, their GPs will tell them, yes, this person's had diabetes for 40 years, they're free. You can't really argue with it.
No.
Can I ask as well, do you have, because this is sometimes a bit of the problem with the buy-in, if you've got a doctor saying to you, look, you need to become plant-based, maybe cut alcohol, cut all the crap that you've been having, and you could get better, or you don't need to change and I can give you a pill. Do you see what I mean? Do a lot of people think, actually, I don't want to do all the hard work? Because even when I started doing the research, I was like, shit, it looks like I've got to be like a miserable teetotal vegan. My life's over. Like, maybe I'll just take the drugs and drink my wine. I mean, these thoughts went through my mind until I had this overwhelming feeling of like, what if you did what they did and got better? And then I realised like how amazing it was when I did it.
Well, yes, you're actually describing the dilemma in society. And you could say there are two groups of people in society. There are the ones who just want the easy way out. It seems the easy way out. It's actually not. But take the pill. And then there are those who are, I think, an increasing number of people. I think even there's more awakening in society than in medicine, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm finding more people who are not medically trained who are saying, my doctor told me I've just got to be on this pill for the rest of my life. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
He didn't even ask me what was... just a pill.
Yeah.
So people are just waking up to this. So, but then there's also the thing, well, how is it sold? You know, when I was, I actually spent some time as a GP. If you try and tell somebody to give up smoking, well, only about 5% will. How is it sold? And for me, the big thing is, well, it doesn't have to be a miserable life. I go on about my wife. The food that she produces is amazing. So it doesn't have to be a miserable life.
No.
You know, but so... which is why she's a great partner for me. I talk about all of this science and she says, well, this is what it looks like. This is what it tastes like.
Yeah.
And she's got this thing called plant-based cyst. That's the website. It's amazing. So
what's it called? Plant-based?
Plant-based cyst.
Okay, I'm going to have a look at
sister.
that. Yeah.
It's amazing that you look at that sort of food, and obviously I'm fed on this food.
Yeah, you look amazing.
Thank you so much. Yes, my wife's listening. But And this was the big thing for me. When I started my restaurant plant, I looked at vegetarian food in those days and I thought, this looks miserable.
Yeah.
And
We've got veggie lasagna.
And the sort of people who would come, the typical people with the big beards and the sandals with socks.
Yeah.
Well, that's not attractive to anybody.
No.
I'm not making judgments on people, but look.
Don't want to get cancelled
Well,
again.
absolutely. Well, I've had it enough. But make it something that is appetizing. Make it something that looks good and looks wonderful. And that's why I was so happy when my wife Pamela, when she came up with this plant-based is. It's just beautiful food.
But that's what Loretta, when I was at my lowest and sort of going, not only am I sick, I now can't drink or have all the food that I love, like chorizo and prawns, and I'm just going to have to like be miserable. And Loretta was always a really good cook, but she's since then trained as a natural vegan chef. But I always remember her saying, look, if we're going to do this, because we love food,
yes,
we are going to make it so it tastes amazing.
Yes.
That you don't feel that I'm missing out vibe,
Absolutely.
I wanted to talk about obesity
Yes.
and the obesity crisis, and also I wanted to touch on Ozempic because we were talking about this before the podcast started.
Yes.
So I think I read that you'd said that more people are dying because of obesity than starvation.
Yes.
Tell us about this crisis and what can be done.
Well, it is very interesting. So, in the old days, it just used to be the West that was getting overweight. Now, I spend a lot of time in Africa now. I was in Kenya earlier this year. Very difficult to find anybody in Kenya who's not overweight.
Oh, really?
In Kenya.
Yeah.
Okay, apart from the Maasai when you see them in there. But most people are overweight. And so I was looking at a study that was done in Kenya in the 1950s. There was no heart disease, there was no obesity. But it's our lifestyle that we've imported out into Africa. And so places like Britain, we have an epidemic of fat. I'm not even just talking about obesity, because some of us can be thin with a lot of fat in our system. We call them toffees, thin outside, fat inside.
Yeah.
That visceral fat.
Skinny fat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's skinny fat. And it's those people who you see who eat lots of junk food but don't put on any weight. You think, oh, how could they do that? Well, they got lots of visceral fat. And so what could we do about it is, well, what you're doing. Not promoting a starvation diet. In fact, I say eat more, weigh less. If you eat more of the things we've been talking about, the whole foods, which fills you up and gives you that sense of satisfaction, then you don't have to, because it's not so condensed with sugar and fat and whatever, that's the way to overcome it. There was an experiment that was done many years ago on rats, and they allowed these rats to eat as much sugar as they wanted. The rats didn't get overweight, they ate what they wanted and they left it. They did the same with fat, they ate what they wanted and they left it. But it's that combination of fat and sugar which really triggers something in our brains that we cannot now control it. I always say to people, I've never heard of a person say, if I have one celery, I have to eat the whole box.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
It's only biscuits and chocolates and stuff like that. It's because it triggers something quite difficult for us to overcome in our brains. And we know that level of addiction, which is what it is the same as the addiction for heroin. So we have to really... And you asked me, what can you do about it? We have this method or term that we call comfort eating. And that's what we're doing, really. But what are we comforting? And it goes back to what we were talking about. How do you relieve the stress within us? Forgiveness, love, being kind to oneself and to others. That gets rid of this idea that, I need to comfort myself with food.
Yeah.
I can be independent and live a healthy life.
And Ozempic, because obviously that is...
it's out there.
It's
Yeah.
out there,
It's out
and
there.
everyone's taking it, and
Yes.
it's quite sad.
Healthy people are taking it, and not even
Models are taking it.
overweight people aren't even taking it. People that just want to be a size 0.
Yeah.
What's the research showing as far as that's concerned?
Well, you don't even have to get to the research. I spent a lot of time in America. And the thing about America is that they have lots of advertisements, and many of their advertisements are for drugs. And when Ozempic or Wegovy, when they come on, they do the advert, then the next half of the advert is the long list of side effects that you will have if you take it. Now, some of the most serious ones are cancer. I mean, we know that Ozempic makes you predisposed to cancer, especially thyroid cancer. Now, it's so severe that some of these drug companies are saying, well, we know that it may cause cancer, let's come up with a drug that can treat the cancer when you get it. The list of side effects for these fat loss drugs, and it's a shame that the British government is trying to embrace it as a treatment for obesity. It will cause so many side effects, if not years, even months from now. I mean, I'm seeing people with problems already.
But can I ask you this question? Is the Ozempic going to cause as many problems as the obesity? Do you see
If
what I
they
mean?
can't lose weight.
If they can't lose weight and they stay obese, or they say Ozempic, is it what's your better bet?
Yeah, your better bet is to be obese than to take Ozempic.
Okay.
I'm just saying from my
Yeah.
perspective, I
Yeah.
would rather
That's
be
good to
obese
hear. Yeah.
than take that drug, simply because that drug, it has such a high level of side effects. And there are alternative ways that we can lose weight.
Yeah.
And look, I know society and life is very difficult, but what we should be promoting is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a holistic approach. I know it's not easy, but it's possible.
And also, there was something that I was listening to about, how hard things are really good for us.
Right.
And, that quick fix,
Yes.
it's never satisfying. Yes, you get it, but you don't get that feeling you get after Sharon decided to give up alcohol and then give up processed food, then give up sugar, and learnt so much from that and grew so much and felt so proud that she did that it sort of buys into what we've bought into as human beings, that thing of like, I want it quick, I want it now, and I don't want to do any of the hard work,
Well, if you think back to those two paths that I had, which was continuing the drugs, and actually some of the drugs that I was on as a side effect was lymphoma cancer, and I read that as a side effect. I was like, that's a potential side effect. I mean, and I was like 36 with a newborn baby, desperately wanted to be like, I wanted to be, a really great mum with loads of energy, and I was robbed of that. And I was like, I don't want my son to grow up with a mum that's sick. I didn't want that either. Well, nobody wants that, but I was really conscious of it, So you then I look back at the two paths, and obviously it's easy for me to say now because it worked, but not only did it work, it gave me a new career, it gave me what I do now, we just don't know.
You just
sometimes.
felt so much happier as well. That was the other byproduct. And obviously I wasn't sick, and I did it all with my sister. And one of the biggest byproducts was that I actually felt I had more focus, I had more energy, and I felt happier.
I think
and
we were drinkers as well.
Yeah,
Like I was not like a go out and cane it person, but I was a couple of glasses of wine every night, to take the edge off, to relax, to unwind,
to
and
comfort.
that accumulative,
Absolutely.
that comfort, basically 100% comfort.
Yes.
And that has an accumulative effect. So I was always into exercise, so I'd have a few glasses in the evening, and then it was like crazy when you think about it, the cycle. I'd then go running or cycling to kind of get rid of that awful, crappy feeling. And then I do the same thing every night. And I think a lot of people are actually in that bracket of just a couple of glasses of wine or the comfort eating, then trying to get rid of it in the day. I mean, it's just an insane cycle. So that level of happiness, that peace of my heart at the end of the day, of just feeling good, a cup of tea, just the real simple, it's that eudaimonic happiness compared to that hedonistic happiness of just feeling good. Like we know how, if you give your body the right things, it feels good.
Yes,
it's just, no matter what's going on in your life,
Well, that's right. I mean, you're really tapping into something quite deep there. I mean, Jim Rohn, he's the guru who helped Tony Robbins become what he is. And he would say to people, seek to be a millionaire, not because of the money, but what the journey will make of you, okay? The goals that we have in life, so it may be getting healthier, or apparently getting healthier. To take a drug, you are robbed of the journey. You're robbed of the journey, and that journey is the thing that develops who you are. Okay, you've got a business out of this journey. If you just had a pill, well, where would you be?
Yeah.
You've said it so much better than I described it.
But I dread to think where I would be.
But that's right.
Because of all the side effects as well, taking that drug for the rest of my life as well, which is what I was told I was going to have to do. And I do remember that I had amazing consultants, and I would never say anything. They really got me out of a sticky place when I was in a really bad place. And what the drugs did is that it got me out of the chair. Like I was at a point where I couldn't get up out of a chair and barely walk. It got me walking, and from walking, it then gave me the energy, the space to go, is there something else I can do? Because when you're really sick, you're so low.
Absolutely.
You just can't do anything. And and I worked with my consultants. I said, I really want to get off these drugs, and I've done my research, and I feel like if I flood my body with all this sort of stuff, I mean, I'll never forget, one of my doctors sort of turning, and he was very supportive, but he turned around and I because I was desperately looking for hope. I was like, do you think I can do it? Do you think I can? I get upset thinking about it now, but I remember going, do you think I can get off the drugs? If I really threw everything at it, do you think I could? And he was like, I hate to tell you, you're not going to get off these drugs.
Yeah, and these are
I was
experts.
crushed.
Of
I was
course.
so crushed because I was like, if he's believes that I can't, he wasn't trying to shit over my dreams. That was his medical opinion.
Yes.
He said when an autoimmune disease like kicks off in your system, he said it's like a juggernaut to try and turn it around. It's impossible to turn around, and I remember thinking, if he doesn't believe I can do it, and it wasn't doctors that got me better, other than that homeopathic doctor. It was other people that had done it. And that's what I did. I reached out to people that had done it.
Absolutely.
And I had this American woman, and she was like, she'd had dermatomyositis. She'd been where I'd been. She was running marathons. She was running triathlons. And she was like, you can do this.
Absolutely.
So it was community that got me better.
Yes, and I think that is the future.
Yeah.
And what should happen is that there should be doctors, a bit like myself, who want to free people from disease, not enslave people with medication and hospital visits. We should really be trying to free people, and that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. If there are people like listening to this podcast that are have been told they're going to be on medicines for life, what would your advice be for them to do, and how could they work with you as well?
Well, the first thing I would do is don't believe everything you hear. It doesn't matter how great the expert is. For most diseases, especially the chronic diseases, there is usually a way out. It's rare that we don't find a way out. That's the first thing. The next thing I will say, yes, they could certainly contact me. My website, drchiddy.com, or what you could also do is even plant-based cis. Well, my wife, you want to learn how to make good food. It's all done for you, very quick, simple, cheap. Getting on that pathway is going to be a wonderful way to turn it around. But the first thing I just say, just do not lose hope. I mean, you're giving this message of hope, really. I mean, that's really what people need, and it's true. There's always a way to reverse these chronic diseases.
And
That's so empowering, and so
Yes.
I'm sure many people that feel really stuck, it will give them so much.
Yeah.
So much hope, yeah.
And not false hope. It's
No,
the
no,
actual
no,
truth.
sorry.
I mean,
It's
you're
actually-
living
Yeah.
and breathing example of it.
Thank you.
And we've
Yes.
met up loads that are living, breathing
Yeah, we
examples
have,
of it.
especially
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Sorry, what supplements would you take?
So the supplements I take are, I've been taking vitamin D3 for, as I say, a long time. I also take a high dose of liposomal vitamin C. I usually take about 2 or 3 grams a day. And then I take things like cinnamon, which naturally lowers your blood sugar. I also take concentrated garlic. This is what my wife, me thinking I know everything. And she said, well, I never get flus or colds or anything. I said, oh, well, that might just be a difference. She said, well, why don't you take this high-strength garlic capsule? Ever since I've taken that, I've never had a viral illness.
Really?
Yeah, after years now. So,
Would you eat chocolate ever?
Oh,
Dark chocolate or
Yeah, I don't really like dark chocolate.
Yeah.
If I ate it, I would eat them.
No one likes dark chocolate.
You know.
Well, no, dark chocolate and nuts
It's like
is
eating
quite nice.
paracetamol.
Yeah, it is like that. It's that bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is goodness in the bitterness. I know that.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I do have the odd thing. I mean, anybody who listens to what I say, I have my own issues to get over. Sweetness. If I try to avoid sugar,
Yeah.
like an alcoholic avoids alcohol. Because
Right.
if I did go for it, I might not
so
get out for a
addictive,
long
it is,
time.
yeah.
It's very addictive. Yeah.
I know when we've been on holidays and we've gone, oh, should we get a vegan ice cream? And then all of a sudden, every
Mango.
night,
Yes,
there's a
a tub,
vegan ice
yeah.
cream.
Yeah.
Yes, mango sorbets,
Yeah.
and you get
Absolutely.
addicted to them quite quickly.
But that's the world we're living in. There's all this temptation. Sometimes I go into the supermarket and there's only a few aisles you can go down that are relevant for you. There's the fruit, the veg, the water, everything else is processed and sugar and salt and whatever.
Yeah. So tell us about how people can get to work with you and hear about your work.
Yeah, well, thankfully I have a new app that's about to come out, and it's the Life Colours app. Each colour represents a different disease pathway that you can reverse. And so that app will walk you through what I would be doing with individuals as well.
brilliant.
Hopefully that's going to come out, very soon.
Yeah.
Then I've got a few books coming out. It's Restoring Health, Reversing Disease, and it's for each of the 9 major lifestyle diseases.
Brilliant.
And as I said, it's split up into meals, movement, and mindset. It gives you an 8-week path to recovery.
And when is that? When are they coming out?
So the first one, the diabetes one, should be out within well, certainly by the end of this year, 2025.
Yeah.
Can I just check? So your wife's website, is this food that she delivers to you?
No, she shows you how to make
Oh,
it.
how to make it.
Yeah.
So it's education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
Okay, brilliant. Oh, we have to meet your wife. We
Oh, yes.
absolutely have to.
You
Yeah.
should come on our retreat,
Yeah.
both of you.
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go.
Yes,
There you
yeah.
go. Very good. Very
Yeah,
good.
brilliant. Thank you so much. Honestly, this hour has been really, really inspiring to me to just have you here and just say everything I want you to say about healing and what's possible. So thank you so much. It means a lot to me personally, but I know people that are listening to this, they will really resonate. So thank
It's
you.
my absolute pleasure. And thank you for inviting me. And, you know, I thoroughly enjoy your work. Yeah, this serious stuff and also the comedy.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.